All right, it's hot and it's humid and it's a new day in Florida. And I just wrapped up this install on this RV behind me. So this is a 2019 Grand Design Solitude 2930RL. And the system I installed on the RV is actually a very large system. It's a 24 volt dual inverter system with quite a few panels up on the roof and a very large battery bank that is also designed to be expanded. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So let me give you a tour of what was installed. All right, so as you can see here, I installed a dual inverter system. It is 24 volts, which works out the best for a dual inverter system, because otherwise your DC amp draw from the batteries with a 12 volt system would just be way too high and it generates too much heat. And so 24 volts was the way to go for this dual setup. Now, another thing I did with being a dual inverter setup is I have a couple options on how we can configure those inverters, either split phase or parallel. So split phase, you have one inverter providing power to one leg and the other inverter is providing power to the other leg. Or you do it in parallel, which is basically both inverters are providing power to both legs. So basically they're added together. So instead of 2,400 watts on each leg, we have a total of 4,800 watts that the whole RV can use. The advantage of doing it this way is the customer doesn't have to think about what load is running where. Sometimes you can get a load imbalance with air conditioners, with the breaker panel box. So with this system, went ahead, did a parallel system. I figured overall for the customer was going to be a better setup, better experience for them. The two boxes that we have here in the middle, these black boxes, one of them is sending power to the breaker panel box, and the other one here is bringing in power from the shore power cord, and then that gets split between the two inverters. So then also we have here is our solar charge controller. So we're bringing in 1,800 watts of solar from up on the roof. So I've got 9 200 watt panels up on the roof, and we'll show you those here in a little second. We also have the Serbo GX here, and it connects to a touchscreen inside the coach, which we'll show you here in a second as well. And so the Serbo GX is kind of like the brains of the operation. All the Victron components are connected to it. I like the Victron GUI interface on the touchscreen because it makes it clear and clean and easy and simple for my customers to use. But what I really like about the Serbo GX, which adds a great value to my customers, is the Serbo GX gives me remote monitoring capabilities. So as long as my client has it connected to the internet, I can actually log in remotely from anywhere and provide troubleshooting were they to run into any issues. So it's really nice. I can keep an eye on the systems for my customers, but also help them do updates, stuff like that. My customers love it. And then also on the side here is a 24 volt to 12 volt converter. So the coach has 12 volts, runs off 12 volts and 120 volts, but for the 12 volt side of it, we have to down convert from 24 to 12. And so this is a high power output, so it can put out 70 amps and it can peak up a little bit. Yeah, so that's what's providing the 12 volts to the RV now. You'll see down here, there's a little gray box, and that is a 120 volt to 24 volt AC, so your normal household outlet, to 24 volt to charge the battery system. So why did I need a AC to DC converter for this coach? Well, when you do a parallel system, the minimum shore power limit is actually increased, and it's usually about 18 amps. So if you were to try to plug it into your normal household outlet, let's say you're mooch docking at someone's house, you wouldn't be able to because you're going to be probably pulling more than that 15 amp outlet can provide. So for mooch docking, I put in this AC to DC converter, so that way when they're mooch docking somewhere, they can just plug in a normal household extension. There's a little plug now on the outside of the RV where you can just plug that in, and it's very clean and very easy. You don't have to deal with a 50 amp cord all of the time. Down here, you can see is the battery bank. So currently we have two 200 amp hour 24 volt batteries, and actually at the time of recording this video, my client just paid me because he wanted to add that third battery that we had already planned into the system before he comes to pick up the RV. So by the time he picks it up, we're going to have 3 200 amp hour batteries. So that's 600 amp hours at 24 volts or 1200 amp hours at 12 volt systems, just kind of doing the conversion there. So he should have quite a good run time depending on what he's doing and where and the temperature and all that stuff. Run time can vary quite a bit. But overall, it's going to be a great system for him. So one of the things that I like technology, I'm always thinking about process improvement, efficiency. How can I make my installs better for my client? How can I make the look of my installs better so it looks more professional, so my things kind of stand out? And so one of the things I invested in recently for the business is a 3D printer. And it was one of those where it's like, am I going to use it? How much am I going to make use of it? And it's actually been really nice to have for this install, starting with this one. And I've already even used some of the stuff on some smaller jobs I've had come in as well. So one of the things that I've switched to on this install is having a Lynx distributor and a Lynx power in. So in the past, I've used individual bus bars for the power in side of it. And one of the reasons why I did that is because I like to have a single battery switch in a shunt. And I was always trying to figure out, how do I get this connect to make it look like this? And I was able to find some link bars so I can make a one bus bar with a switch in the middle instead of having to have a switch for each battery. So to me, it looks clean and everything. So one of the challenges with the Lynx distributor, the power in and the switch and the shunt, is they have different thicknesses for their base of them. So you get each device at a different plane when you try to put it up against the wall. And if you just try to screw it, it's just not gonna work well. So what I've done is I've 3D printed a spacer that sits behind the distributor and the power in to bring it away from the wall a little bit, as well as a spacer that goes behind the switch, because your shunt sticks out the furthest from the wall. So by having both of these, it actually secures nicely against the wall on one plane. Another thing I was able to 3D print was actually this cover here for the shunt. So instead of having the contacts exposed, and we'll post a photo in here what that looks like beforehand, but it just kind of cleans it up. It looks a little bit cleaner. It looks a little bit nicer. Another thing that I was able to 3D print kind of custom for this RV, because of the situation, is over here. Normally, because with lead acid batteries, is you have a battery vent that brings fresh air into the RV. Well, being lithium, we don't need it anymore, so I got rid of it, and I was able to 3D print this adapter, so I had a place to do the plug for the AC to DC converter. So that's kind of nice. So custom touches for my customer, making a better install, better looking install, and the client is happy. When you do an install with me, I include a set of spare fuses, just in case you're out in the boonies somewhere and a fuse blows. At least you have a set. Well, it's always been in a little baggie, and it's like, well, where do you put it? Is it going to get lost? So I've 3D printed a little box here where you can actually keep all the set of spare fuses. And I'm actually thinking about mounting this on the wall somewhere so it will never get lost and the spare fuses will always be handy. Small little touches, but so far my clients have appreciated having some custom touches for their system. All right, so let's go on inside and let me show you where that touchscreen was installed. All right, so coming into the RV, you can go to the living room or you come up the little stairs and you head to the main bedroom. Pretty typical layout for a fifth wheel. But in here, they have a little cabinet where Grand Design has put your control panel, your control switches, and even your breaker panel box. So they left us a really nice little space up here where the little touch screen goes. So the touch screen is very nice. You can see the solar coming in. You see how many watts of AC that you're using, how many watts of DC you're using, as well as your battery status, your battery voltage. And at the moment we're actually charging, but if we were pulling more out of the battery than the sun was putting in, it would actually give you a time to go as well. So again, as long as this system is connected to the internet, I can remote in and I can see what you're seeing and I can help you out. Like even yesterday, I had a customer had some questions about his system that I had just installed as well. And I was able to make some tweaks to his system, able to explain things to him, and then get him taken care of, which is kind of really neat. All right, so now we're up on the roof and this is what we installed. I got 9 200-watt rich solar panels installed up on the roof. And these are actually really nice panels. They work really well. I have them connected in a 3 series, 3 parallel configuration. So voltage is coming into the system at about 130, 150 volts, which is more than high enough. Don't have to worry about voltage loss, voltage drop at that point. And then we're paralleling them together. That was the kind of configuration that worked out the best with the number of panels that we had, with the voltage panel, with the solar charge controller we were able to get. That was the best configuration that worked out. And as I said too, even yesterday, we brought in 5 kilowatts of energy from the sun. And so the last thing that we did up on this roof is we installed soft starts on these air conditioners. So both this rear one and the front one as well. The soft starts just reduce that hit, that initial amp hit when they kick on, and it just works a lot better. And also they're a lot quieter. So from the customer perspective, they're a lot more silent when they turn on. That is the system I installed on this 2019 Grand Design Solitude 2930RL. To recap, it's a dual inverter system. It's a 24 volt system, not your typical 12 volt system. And the dual inverters, they're parallel together. And then we have 400 amp hours currently of battery, but soon to have 600 amp hours of battery very soon, as well as 1800 watts of solar panels were installed up on the roof. Again, they're 200 watts each, 3 series, 3 parallel configuration. We have a 70 amp, 24 volt to 12 volt DC to DC converter. We have a 120 volt to 24 volt converter as well, and that charges the system at a max of about 40 amps. And we have the really nice DC distribution system. And so, yeah, it's what came out very clean. I feel like the 3D printed stuff just added a little bit to touch it up, to make it custom for this client. And I think overall he's been very happy. I sent him pictures of the system. He can't wait to come and get the RV and pick it up and start using this system. So before I wrap up this video, I just want to briefly share about my generator auto start box that I sell on my website. So this RV didn't need it because this RV doesn't have an onboard generator, but all the installs I do, they have a onboard generator, as well as if you're installing a Victron system on your RV and you have an onboard generator, this box will work with it. So this is a 2-wire negative version. And basically this is set up to interface between your Victron and your onboard generator. So all of those generators are looking for a momentary signal. So you're pressing that start button or that stop button for just a moment, and then you're letting it off. With the Victron Serbo GX, as well as the Victron BMV 712, all of those will send a constant on or constant off signal, not a momentary. So this is basically a translation box between Victron and your onboard generator. So what this is designed to do is it has a few relays in it. And the first relay here, it will basically prime your generator for you, or it will stop an already running generator before trying to start it. Basically, this is going to give you a wait between the prime and the start relay. And then the last one is the stop signal. So one thing you'll see, there's these little red circles. Those are red little dials that allow you to adjust the timing of the relay. So like a diesel needs a little bit longer of a preheat or a little bit longer of a start, you can dial that up. As well as if you're going from elevation, either higher in elevation or lower in elevation, you can adjust it. My box is pretty easy to install. Basically, there's only 7 wires you need to connect to your system. And if you're ready installing your system, you're going to have access to those 7 wires. More details of that can be found on my website. And if you have questions, you can go ahead and get hold of me as well. I do keep these in stock as much as I can. So as of today, they're in stock, they're ready to ship, and I can get one out to you tomorrow. So if you're interested, the link will be in the description below of where you can order it. And then, or if you have questions, my contact details will be down below as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a blessed day.